Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Material Issues. It's episode number 101. I'm Mark Hershberger of Pop Detective Records. I'm over here on the East Coast in South Jersey. Joining me every Wednesday is my very good friend. He's out near LA, Reseda to be more exact. He's the president of the International Pop Overthrow Festival. He's in the midst of festival season right now. It's Mr. David Bash. David, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing okay this afternoon.
Well, it's early evening for me.
Hopefully, I'll be doing okay tonight as well.
Every episode I do that, but I'll
No,
probably
it's
do it
okay.
forever.
Hey, that's your existence. Mine is
Yeah.
the afternoon. But yeah, I'm doing fine. I'm very jet lagged, and I've been just taking naps on and off. I've been up during weird hours, which actually works well because I'm I'm putting the finishing touches on IPO Liverpool.
Right.
Just to recap, last week we were in Chicago doing IPO. Hey, I assume
Someone
that's
checking
Barry.
in from Philly. How you doing? Good.
I assume it's Barry. If it is, hey Barry. If it's not, hey whoever you are. But yeah, we had a great time doing IPO in Chicago at a venue called Montrose Saloon, which is absolutely the perfect fit for us. The owner, Eric Chales, a musician. He's very musician friendly. The sound is great. The staff is top shelf on top of I didn't have to worry about a thing, which is not the case at a lot of the venues. People show up on time. They do their job. I don't have to monitor anybody. That is such a relief when doing this festival, because at some venues sound engineer's not there on time, door person's not there on time, whatever. This is never the case at Montrose. Plus, I love Chicago as a city. I love the people,
and you had pretty good crowds too. I saw.
Yeah, we had the best crowds in Chicago we've had in a long time, and that's really, I think maybe we've gotten to the point now where just about everybody is done worrying about COVID. They, if they happen to get it, it's a nuisance, but no more than that. People aren't really afraid of getting it. You see people wearing masks, which is fine, but they don't have a fear of going out to public places anymore. Very, very few. And I think that's helped. Hopefully that is the shape of things to come, as your 45 back there says.
Yeah.
And we'll have good crowds all the way through. Well, one place I'm fairly certain we'll have good crowds is Liverpool, which is where we'll be in a few weeks, May 28th through June 4th at the Cavern Club and Cavern Pub. So, Rena and I are greatly looking forward to going there. And hi, all. I'm not sure who you are. I don't see your identity. If you want to tell us your name, great.
That was Barry. That was Barry early on that is checked in, said hi.
Who said hi all just now?
I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, okay. We don't know.
No check in.
All right. Anyway, obviously we're looking forward to going back to the Cavern. You've been there for IPO.
Yep. Wonderful.
It's an amazing experience, both for us and the people who play, and everyone else who attends. Hopefully, we'll have more of the same. Then we'll be.
Mike Boner, nice to see you, Mike.
Then we'll be going to. We'll be going to Glasgow and Edinburgh just to vacation before we go to Copenhagen to do IPO there for a couple of days. We've
awesome.
Never been to Copenhagen. We're looking forward to going there as tourists and as festival organizers. So yeah, so we've got a lot. We've got a lot going on.
Well, to piggyback on that, because you're talking about Liverpool, the Cavern in the UK. Ace Records just put out She's Got the Power, which is the female power pop compilation that has 2 Pop Detective Records artists on it, Vivica Sagastad and the Dolmans, right next. There it is, right next door to the Go-Go's. And who else is on that?
Well, I can tell you.
Blondie, Amy Rigby. So if you're a fan of female power pop, and Pop Detective Records right here. There's two
Did
artists.
you mention Cocktail Slippers?
Cocktail Slippers out of Norway.
They're on here.
Great compilation.
They'll be playing IPO Copenhagen, and actually they'll be playing IPO in Boston in November. They're going to be in the States. Hey, Gary, they're going to be in the States touring at that time, and they have an open date, which I'm sure it will.
I'm going to catch up with the Cocktail Slippers when they get
so it's going to be great to, Rocket came out here to tour with another band, and we hung out a few months ago, and so we'll get to see the whole band again performing in Copenhagen and then in Boston. But yeah, I picked this up at one of my favorite record stores ever, Dusty Groove, when I was in Chicago, and haven't had a chance to hear it. But the Dolly Rots are on here. They were early. They were early performers at IPO LA,
right?
And they were something special. You could kind of see it then. Hey, Tim. So we're looking forward to a lot of stuff. But one thing we're looking forward to more immediately is our special guest today on episode 101, Ventura Highway in the Sunshine. This man, he's an entrepreneur. He put together a company called Historic Autographs, and he basically puts out trading cards, although nobody really, people do trade them, I suppose, but not just sports. He puts out cards that deal with historical figures, particular times in history, and there are special in some of the packs of cards. There are special autographs by historical figures, and even pieces of hair and pieces of clothing and all kinds of stuff like that. So it's very special, and I'm just learning about this company, and there are already things I want to purchase. So that's always cool. We spoke a bit beforehand. This is a very engaging person, and I want to learn more about him and the company. And you know a little more than I do, Mark. But we have hopefully our audience will, and I think they will definitely enjoy our guest. So, without further ado, would you please give a huge Material Issues welcome to Mr. Kevin Heffner?
And there he is.
Hello.
Kevin Heffner, Historic Autograph Company. Early evening for us. Good afternoon.
Kevin, I was really sorry to hear about your grandpa Hugh. No, I'm just kidding. You've never heard that before, have you?
No. Well, Kevin,
I always say he spelled his with one F. I spelled mine with two.
No, that's very true. I know
there's a lot of Heffners where I grew up in Kutztown that were one Fs, and a lot of people from that area. So we're basically very close to the same.
As long
area.
As they're not 4F, which kind of dovetails into the historical war, the war figures and events that your cards represent.
But I'll tell you what, absolutely fascinating. David and I are both collectors of different things, and cards as well. And your company is just a fascinating company. Number one, all the different types of autographs, memorabilia that you've been able to source and produce. But the cards I'm seeing online and now starting to get some myself are absolutely beautiful. They're well done. They're well researched. You've got great artists. The basic cards are just very well done. And then everything else you have going on above that just makes what you do really fascinating. And David and I are so chuffed to be able to learn, about you, the company, and how you got this all started. So if you could give us kind of an overview of what Historic Autograph Company is and does, so our viewers can say, okay, I get it.
Chuffed, not chubbed. Although if you have a 52 Mantle original there, I'll get chubbed by looking at that.
Well, what I can do is I'll start. I'll give you a real quick recap. We started in 2010, and I was strictly autographs, and I thought that was a part of the market that was lacking. Originally, what I wanted to do was use all the old Topps cards that all the people had gotten autographed over the decades, and we were going to do cards like that. And I got into cut cards, the cut signature cards, and we did that for several years. But then I let my creative side take over, and we started making different products. And in 2012, we came out with our first, what we call a marquee or a flagship product called the Originals. And it's where we pair the original autograph with an original card. Hold on, I have an original right here.
Cool.
Yes, please
We just released this week.
Any of your wares that you have. We really want to see.
Well, this one's called Back to Back. So what we did with this one is, I got upside down. And that's John Babbage, and that's his 41 play ball. They're never glued in place, so we don't destroy them. So you could just whenever you want them. This one, we didn't put this one in the product because it's Benny Rubin, who was an actor, but he was on that strip card.
Oh, wow.
So I put that in.
Wow.
I didn't want to put it in the product because if I put it in the product, somebody might say it's not a baseball player. We didn't want it. But, we started with that in 2012 with the T206 set, and the autograph said, as many as we could find. Everybody's like, you're going to put Honus in there. I said, no. And then it kind of snowballed from there. By 2015, my love, my college degree is in history. I intended to be a history professor, but my mentor said that although he thought I'd make a great professor, he said the college scene is just overcrowded. Said there's so many professors out there, getting tenure is almost impossible. People showing up for job interviews, they have 3 and 4 books under their belt and not getting hired. He said he knew I loved baseball, and he said what I should do was something like this. So I did. But then in 2015, I decided I wanted to start making, and David, what you were referring to, I call them historically based trading cards. And I basically tell people it's baseball cards for history. That's what we do. They understand it when I put it that way. What we try to do is there are a lot of non-sport cards out there. Ours aren't really non-sport. Ours are historically based. Mm-hmm. And I did the first one was I wanted to do it for the sesquicentennial of the Battle of Gettysburg. So in 2015, we did Appomattox. And, we had Civil War generals, Lincoln, all that, those types of autographs in there. And we did a nice base set. It was our first go at it. And then the next year we did our very first mob product because people love the mob. And at first it didn't do very well.
Yeah.
But it's funny. It was a $10
set. The money, they're okay. Yeah.
It was a $10 set then. Today it's a $40 set because once people realized that it was out there, the collectors started buying it. We are actually going to do another mob set this year. It's a little more expanded. It's actually going to come in pack form this year instead of being just a box set. But as we began to get, our feet under us, we created products. Our presidential product is called POTUS. Mm-hmm. And we started doing that. But again, most of what it was just autographs. But now I have assembled an amazing team. My designers, my entire staff, we work very well together. So we've expanded. We do Famous Americans, which is a really popular product because of the type of cards. We have all these Famous Americans in there, but it's also the type of card because we do our parallels, which are really special. I don't know if you can see it, but you see how that has that sandpaper glow to it.
Oh yeah,
that's Elvis Presley.
Kind of like the chrome cards.
We that process, believe it or not, I found out is copyrighted. So we had to create our own process.
Oh wow, okay.
But for us, what we did was we created these beautiful cards. They are simple, yet there's depth to them, and we do put ourselves up against other companies. Now I don't look at our company against, say, Panini or Topps. I look at our company against all the other companies. And we want to make sure that when we put a card out, like you said, David, people are happy with even the base card. To look at, and we research, we check all the licensing, making sure that it's a public domain image. We have kept such a high quality and of standard for us that I'm proud of my team. I always am. And then I know a lot of people within the industry. I try to remain like quiet. I don't like to ruffle people because most of my connections like to deal with us. And when the stuff shows up in my cards, they know where it came from. Yeah. But like when we did the hair cards, and I brought one out just so I can show you because it's my card and it actually says on the back, owner's card, see? It says 101 owners
one of
card.
one.
Oh, it's got a piece of
'cause it's
your hair
mine.
in it.
Can you see who it is?
I need to see that authenticated.
Babe Ruth.
Oh wow, that's definitely a Babe autograph.
Babe Ruth, Ted Williams, and Mickey Mantle.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
They had hair from all three of them.
With pieces of their hair. In
Yeah,
that card.
that's one of our hair cards. You know, we call this one. This one was called the Mount Rushmore.
Oh
because
wow!
it's the 4 presidents from Mount Rushmore. Now everybody says, "How can you authenticate the hair?"
I was about to ask that same question.
Well, that's why I brought up people, my contacts, because the gentleman that owns the Guinness World Book of Record hair collection, and yes, it is a thing, and they verified it, and he has provenance on all of it. That's where I sourced the hair from. If it isn't sourced directly from him, I use the quality auction houses like Heritage, Christie's, Sotheby's, and so William Penn. I had William Penn's hair in one of our products.
Wow!
I got that from Heritage. I bought like Kennedy, Nixon. LBJ wasn't there. It was Kennedy, Nixon, and Eisenhower came directly from the family of the White House barber.
Oh yeah, so, I read about that somewhere. Yeah,
yeah, and that was in the golden. That was in golden auction. Yeah. So I make sure to document everywhere, and I won't mention the auction house because I don't want people to fear that they can't bid in auctions. But I bid on a lock of. I bought Jefferson's lock. That lock cost me $63,000 for one lock of hair. I also bought 2 different Lincoln locks. One was $25,000, one was $45,000. But I was going to buy a lock of Jefferson's or Washington's hair. And they knew me. The auction houses know who I am. They called me and I said, I'm going to reach out to Mount Vernon because it's always good to have people to sit there and say, yeah, we agree. And they actually told Heritage that they were uncomfortable because of the year that the authentication came with, because the grandson of Washington, through marriage, had originally sold a lot of Washington's hair. But through the last few years, when he was still selling it, they believe it was his own hair, not Washington's. And so they weren't comfortable. Like, had it been a decade earlier, the authentication, they would have said, yeah, we like it. And they pulled it from the auction. Yeah. But it shows you, the auctions are very, these auctions are good. Yeah. They do their due diligence. So when I buy things, I spend 30, 40 hours a week, cultivating relationships and finding the people you can trust in this industry that you can buy from. I got a piece here in an upcoming product. I want to show you this. This is really cool. This right here is a letter from the Hindenburg Company. And you see what's on it?
It's a burned piece of something.
That is a burnt. Oh, I can't get that. Where is it?
Wow.
Nice. You can't see it. That is a burned piece of the Hindenburg, directly from the Hindenburg Company.
Yeah.
The letter states that they collected it from the debris field. They stapled it on there, and you can tell from the staple how old it is, and that they sent it to this person on May 14th, 1937. Or 1927, sorry. No, 37.
37, yeah.
And that's how, so we're going to take that and put little pieces in cards to have these, what we're going to call Hindenburg disaster relics. And I want people to know I back all of our stuff. I've yet to have, and we've been in business now for 14 years. I've yet to have anything returned as non-authentic. Autograph, now we use companies like Beckett and PSA to authenticate our autographs. Right. But I've yet to have one thing returned for not being authentic or even having a question of the authenticity of it. And again, that's something that I pride myself in.
Yeah, it's definitely something to be proud of.
We have competitors that put stuff in there that says this is a period relic. And then they'll put a person on the card. Well, whoop-de-doo. I can put, I can put George Washington on it and say, here's a newspaper from when he was president, but he didn't touch it.
Yeah.
If I put something in there, he either touched the document or it's part of his hair. And there needs to be a true connection for us to want to put it in our
You have his wooden teeth.
Yeah, right. I wouldn't be surprised if other companies wouldn't do that as a joke.
The tooth card. Oh my God. Can I ask you a quick question about when you did allude to licensing? And I think a lot of things that you have are old enough that Are there any licensing issues that you come up against when you want to do something as far as a name and an image, and how do you handle that? What is that all about?
We track down as many people as we can. I have paid individual licensing for individual cards for individual sets because I don't, these people, they deserve their money, or their estates deserve. We reached out to Babe Ruth Museum. And
yeah, Babe didn't answer you, I guess.
No, Babe didn't answer. He would have if he, because I'd have had a beer with the Babe.
Oh my God! You have no idea how much I wish I could meet the Babe.
Oh, if there's a few characters, and he'd definitely be on my top 5 that I would want to have a drink.
Absolutely.
But like the card I showed you, this one, you see how I didn't use Babe Ruth's image. I used to sign baseball.
Yeah.
Now you knew who it was right away. You looked at it and you're like, I see Babe's signature.
Yeah.
I did not cross any licensing issues. Because when I contacted the people that control his estate, I told them, I said, I'm only going to make 10 cards in mine. I said, what do you want for me to put Babe's image on it? And they were like, well, it's not big enough for us to even consider it. I said, I want to give you, I said, can I give you $100 a card just so I can put his picture on it? They never responded. So I went a different route. I won't cross the line and put somebody's card, I don't want to cross the line. Now we have made mistakes where I put pictures on, I put Secretariat on a card because we had Secretariat's hair.
Oh, yeah.
And the people that run the Tweedy estate contacted me and I worked out something with them, post-production. But I don't like to have to deal with basically a gun to my head. I've already put out the card and I can't retract it. So I have to do something. I don't like to put myself in that position. So it's one of the things that I do is I make sure, one, we don't use licensed images. We do have, it's called fair use. And some people can claim fair use, even though they don't actually, like I've seen pictures that I know are public domain that on other websites are listed as fair use, but they're public domain images. Right, so I work with a legal team and, my staff and we're very good at what we do. I'm not going to say we're perfect because nobody is, but things do slip through the cracks and, we get calls sometimes. I think it was James Arness's wife had emailed because I put him in our 1945 set because he served in the war. Oh, and nice. What I did was we made replica dog tags that just said his name and what he ended up doing with the rest of his life. And when she found out, she contacted us and I said, I'm so sorry. I apologize. I said, how can I make this right? She goes, I just wanted you to know he is licensed and you should have reached out to us. She goes, but honestly, you did such a great job with the card and so beautiful. Can you just send me one? And that's all.
That's nice.
And maybe I would have paid it for it, but she just wanted her husband's card.
So the same thing happens, Kevin. The same thing happens in licensing music. I mean, that's a big thing for Mark and I. I mean, Mark has a record label. I don't, but I've been involved in underground music for a long time. There are certain albums that we've wanted to see reissued on CD, and they were originally on major labels, and some small label from, let's say, the past 20 years has wanted to license it, like Top Detective. They go to the major label, and the label says, it's like this is the same thing that happened with you. It's like it's not worth it for us to even bother. I mean, unless you pay us like $25,000 to license it, we're not even going to talk to our in-house attorney about writing up a contract because it's not worth our time. And of course, no one will pay the $25 because there's no way they're going to make it back on what is generally an obscure album. So it's got to be frustrating. It's certainly frustrating for Mark in certain cases. I know several other label people who had the same issue, and you had it with Babe Ruth's image, and I'm sure other times. Got to be very frustrating, huh?
Well, I've reached out to I would say maybe 30 or 40, and Curtis Management Group is one that has controls a lot of them, and some of them it's a non-starter unless $10,000 just to talk. Yeah. And I can't make a set. Jackie Robinson is one that is worthy of that. And I know it's $10,000 to start and then percentages of everything else. Because I tried with Jackie. But with Jackie Robinson, it's I don't know if I could ever do him justice.
Hmm.
And I say I make money. I do. It's a career for me. But I don't like to. If I'm going to do it, it needs to be done right.
Absolutely.
And I don't think I can pay him justice. And I don't think my company, as small as we are, can do it right. There are other companies out there that have done it for, like Pete Rose, Stan Musial, and Babe Ruth, and those cards are almost an afterthought to collectors because they weren't done right. They were done cheaply because a lot of the money had to go to the licensing, and you're not getting value. So you see the cards drop. And when you collect, if you see a product sliding in value, I'll use 1987 Topps as an example. I mean, that stuff was so overproduced and unfortunately so ugly that it has been.
I like them, but okay, never mind.
Well, I think it's ugly. I like the 67 Topps myself, but
67 is nice, but nothing's going to beat 65 in the 60s, not in my opinion.
I like the 71 for some reason, but
71s are great. That's the earliest set I have.
No, okay.
Yeah. They're probably
what I'm saying is, once you see a product slide in value, look how many years it's been for the 87 Topps to get back to what it was in 87.
Yeah.
And when you miss on a product and you do it improperly, it devalues a lot with that person. So Pete Rose and Stan Musial, as great as they are, people look at their autographs now and they're like, I know they signed a ton, but you could have done it. If I'm going to do it, it's going to be done right. And I can't do it right starting at 10,000 and going from there. So I have to walk a very thin line when it comes to sports figures. Now, non-sport, historical figures, different story. I'm allowed to use the presidents, not all their pictures. Like I can't use Ronald Reagan from his acting days because there's licensing issues there. You can't, there's certain other people, but when they're a public image, you're allowed to use them. Historical figures, anything back in the 19th century. We just did the Gilded Age. So
I was going to ask you the Gilded Age. I watched some YouTube videos of people doing box breaks of them and, going through each card. And I was going to say, licensing wise, that's a much older. Are they like the fair use, like you were talking about?
Well, fair use is something I can't use. Fair use is the person that somebody else has claimed right to it, or they've registered for the right, and you either have to get their permission or you have to pay them, like a Getty image is fair use because you have to pay Getty to use their images. And usually that's when the photographer, has taken a picture, he sells the rights to Getty. Okay. Or, companies like that. You can use it, but you have to pay for it. But like I said, some of these companies will take public images, public domain images, and tag them as fair use because, hell, if somebody's going to pay them, why not take it?
Yeah, exactly.
The other thing is like the mob. I'm using FBI mugshots. Well, they're all public domain. The FBI, government-owned images, but some of the ones, the person that does all the the images for my cards came to me and said, I can't find any of these people, and I'm like, just use their mugshots. And she said, no, they're all fair use. I said they can't be. I said they cannot be because they're, if they're FBI photos, they're public domain, and you can't own the public domain photo. So, there are a lot of questions when it comes to imaging rights. Sometimes you'll see on our cards, there'll be a credit on it for the photographer. If, that's, sometimes you'll read that you can use this image if you give, credit to the photographer or the company that owns it.
Right.
I have a question regarding the mob. Have you heard of it? Have you heard from any of these mob people or their children or grandchildren?
Absolutely.
I
won't name the family, but it's a prominent New York name, and I was called by the son and told that I need to remove his father from the set, and I said to him, I will not.
Whoa.
Standing up because all I am doing is listing the facts that are known in public. I said, you should be honored that I've included your father in this set because people collect it and will enjoy it. I said, I wrote nothing negative. I don't agree with their way of life. I don't agree with the violence. I think their violence is better than the street violence we see today because they usually kept it within their groupings. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
but it is what it is. Violence is part of society. And I mean, I put out a product called Chaos that had serial killers in it. People love that stuff.
Oh, God,
I'm not glorifying these people. What I'm doing is giving the facts of who they are.
Yeah, you're documenting. You're documenting
like anything else.
The facts.
It's like anything else. It's out there for the people who want it. I mean, if you don't want it, don't buy it.
But we didn't call them scumbags or we didn't use negative language. Right. We said X did X, X was arrested for Y, and this happened here, and they went to prison then. And these are all public records. We don't put one thing I tell my staff is I do not want opinion in what we write. And when my writers bring me stuff, because I do all the final edits, I have an editor, but then I go through and read for, tenor and tone.
Yeah.
And when, and it's funny because I'm in the middle when it comes to politics. I can see both sides because I think anybody that truly wants to consider themselves educated needs to be able to see both sides of the argument.
I'm 100% in agreement with. I've gotten in trouble on Facebook for taking that.
Yes, you have.
Yeah.
And well, the funny thing is, I made sure to hire. Now, I will say this: I lean towards the Republican side because I'm a business owner, and that is for tax reasons.
Right.
But I have voted Democrat in auctions. Listen to me, in elections. So I am true to who I am. I believe you need to hear what they have to say and listen to what they say they're going to do and trust they're going to do it. But I made sure to hire a self-proclaimed super liberal as my editor because I want both sides to be shown. And what we tend to do is have a good balance so that the card is an opinion. It's more of a story that a good moderate version of history.
Yeah. I
don't use inflammatory words where, you may see, like she had something in there once about, we were doing a Washington product called the Washington Chronicles. And she had a lot in there that was harsh against Washington for owning slaves, like this, almost the tear down a statue type of language. And I said, you can't do this.
Absolutely.
Washington owned slaves. And we had a slave card in there. We had a card in there about him owning slaves. But you rib him in other cards because he owned slaves. There's nothing we can do today to change that. I said,
history
so let's
is history, and it shouldn't be canceled. Not to get on my soapbox. Well, yes, to get on my soapbox here, but the adage, those who forget about history are doomed to repeat it. We need to be educated about this stuff. The fact that we're being educated doesn't mean we're promoting it. Right. You can't cancel things that happened in history. People need to know, and then they have an informed decision about not doing it again. So cancel culture, I am 1 billion% against.
And talking about your cards, when I watched that box break of they were younger guys doing it with the Gilded Age, they were mispronouncing names, and they obviously didn't know a lot about a lot of the cards. But what was cool about it is that they turned it over and they started reading the story about the person on the front. Like, oh, this is the person that, and they were very interested in learning about what was the image on the front, which I thought was very cool.
Well, the selection process for our sets is vigorous. Like there are arguments in now I'm fortunate that I'm the final say, right. But we'll start a set like the Gilded Age was 330 cards. We'll start with 500 subjects.
Explain to everybody what the Gilded Age is in case they don't know.
Okay, well, the Gilded Age it usually runs simultaneously with the Industrial Age. The Gilded Age, I think it sounded better than calling it the Industrial Age. But we tended to stretch it just a little bit. We started in 1869, and we went through 1912, which is usually the Industrial Age. We called it the Gilded Age. The Gilded Age, most people consider it to be the 1870s through the mid 1890s. And it was that whole millionaires on Park Avenue, the people, the Astors, the Vanderbilts that gilded everything. Everything was supposed to be gold and beautiful and opulent. And the excesses of money that were created there with the Carnegies and Rockefellers, they were, don't go anywhere.
Oh, yeah.
I happen to have a card right here. We did this really cool card. It was from the Gilded Age. And if you can see it, it's a lenticular. See how it changes?
Oh, yeah.
The one
Love
that's the building during the Gilded Age, and that's what sits there now.
Yeah.
So
which building is it?
Park Avenue then and now, because the old buildings, oh my God, were they beautiful?
Yes.
A few of them still survive, so a few of them have just been turned into museums. But we chose that time period because it gave us enough so that you really got a beautiful cross section. And the idea, believe it or not, came to me from a relatively obscure writer that I don't know if either one of you ever heard of him. His name was Jacob Riis. Riis. He wrote a book called How the Other Half Lives.
Okay.
And he wrote it in the 1880s. And it showed the disparity in New York City between the exceedingly wealthy and the exceedingly poor.
Okay.
And how kids would sleep in the street and they would, it was just horrible. And of course, then the wealthy started donating money to, to try to make themselves feel better. Helping out with poor, the poor. But Riis brought that to light, and I was a history teacher, so I know, all these things. And one day, I don't know what it popped in my head. I'm like, oh, Jacob Riis. Oh, you know why? I'm going to also do a product called "The Sidewalks of New York," which is a great song. That is not too many. I bet you David knows it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure Mark does too.
Yeah.
I've heard it as background in Warner Brothers cartoons too. So.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Well, it's Al Smith's old tune when he was running for president. It was his old tune. And when I started looking into the sidewalks of New York, I remembered Riis, and I'm like, wow, let's do this. And one of the cards in the Gilded Age is the disparity of wealth, like just how the rich were so rich and the poor were so poor. And life expectancy was, they were happy if half their children survived, if they lived in the tenements.
Yeah.
So each product has its own story.
That's the most fascinating.
Currently, we're working on the mob. We're working on Founding Fathers. Now, actually, Founding Fathers, I was originally going to do just the Revolution, but then I said, I don't know, because the autographs are so expensive, and I didn't know if I could do a product that had enough, balance. And that's what you really need in making a product, is to find the balance so that the people that get the worst box aren't totally schnookered. Like you get when you open a Panini box. You can open a Panini box or a Topps box, and it could cost you $200 and you get $20 in cards. Or you could open that box and you get $10,000 because you got one of the really hot rookie cards. The disparity is too much. It's Jacob Riis's How the Other Half Lives. The disparity is too big.
Interesting.
We try to keep it in a tighter margin, so that if you spend $60, $70, $80 on a box, you're going to get no worse than $30 or $40 back in real value. And I've noticed over the course of the past few years, as we've done more true card sets, more collectors are coming in and they're seeing the value. Is there much of an expert market for your card sets?
Andy, is there?
Andy's from the UK. So,
well, I've actually turned away 2 distributors in Europe because I do a lot myself, and I can't find the right shipping companies to get my product to Europe, and my distributors mostly just deal in America. Pardon me.
Yeah.
I have to ask, what, other than, of course, the rare find autograph or hair cards or whatever are in the boxes, what makes a certain card more valuable than another if they're just the regular cards?
Well, when I put out the Gilded Age, and we'll use the Gilded Age, when I put that out, I was afraid that one of my insert sets was going to be a total flop. And it was our Victorian pinups, different than what you would consider a pinup today.
Right. Yeah.
And it turns out there's a huge interest in this. And what makes it
some of the pictures, I get it.
Well, it's how people accept it. If the cards aren't made nice, if the cards don't look beautiful, if they're not informative, people just don't care. I mean, back in the early 2000s, 2010, 15, people would open up boxes of cards in stores and leave all the base cards and take 2 or 3 cards with them.
Yeah.
They don't do that with my products. At least I've never seen it.
Right.
Because they are interested in all the reading that goes with it. And one thing that I'm quite proud of is every one of our products comes with books like this.
Oh, wow.
This is a book from 1945. So when you open the box, you get this in there. And this is a very informative checklist.
Oh,
this is a 44-page checklist. Every card is listed, every insert.
In each box.
In every box.
Nice
Wow.
touch.
Well, I told you I'm a writer, and I that's the kind of stuff that I say is in every man's library. You know, they get it, they open it up, and you find it in their library, being their bathroom, of course.
Now, Kevin, can you explain, while we stick with the Gilded Age? So you talk about a box of cards, 20 packs, I think.
Yes.
Is that like the
hobby? We had a
box?
special 21st pack that had holographic.
Right. So you've got your basic cards, right? And then I think I was reading online, there are different what is it, sapphire or turquoise? What you different?
Well, there are two parallels in the regular packs.
Now, when you say parallels,
explain to people what parallel. Collectors don't know what that means.
Okay, that means it's the same card made with a different card stock and texture. So our one, the first is called the alloys, which are chrome cards. They're made of metal. Well, not metal, but they're made with a metal finish. Beautiful and then cards. On the even rarer ones that are only numbered to 25 are called auroras. And remember the Elvis Presley I showed you?
Right.
That's the Aurora finish. It has this we call it for the Aurora Borealis. It's got that rainbow color and it's textured. And those are we only made 25 of those for each card in the set. So you only get one every other box or one every third box. They're relatively rare and they're pretty. They're really pretty. Now, the ones that you were talking about are the 21st pack. What I was told from collectors and even my distributors was that we don't offer enough of the modern shiny card. Everybody calls them shiny cards. Right. We don't do a lot of that because I want the cards and the subject matter and text to speak for itself. But we were told that this would help us. And so we put it out. And what we did in there was, again, it ties in directly to the product. The peacock feather was in a lot of design during the Gilded Age. So we took the colors from the peacock feather and we made these rare, numbered cards done in a special foil. And it was a different design. If you look at the cards, they're vastly different. Same image, but the cards designed different. So those cards from the 21st pack can come as little as 2 of 2 and as much as I think of 1 of 32. 32. So, and if you want, there are 8 different colors, that you can have that same card in 8 different colors.
Oh, okay.
And we did it because some collectors like the numbered cards. They like the rare cards. And so that's why we added the 21st pack to the Gilded Age.
How many people who buy your cards, you may not have any numbers on this. How many people who buy your cards immediately send them off to PSA or Beckett or SGC or any of those grading companies? And in the case of your cards, does a 10 end up having a lot more value than a 9 or an 8, or does it not even matter at this point?
Well, to date, PSA does not grade our cards. They originally wouldn't grade our cards because they said licensing issues, and I proved to them that there were no licensing issues with our cards, but that was during the time when PSA had shut down, and they said that they were so far behind they couldn't add new sets into the system like mine. Like they would still add Topps and Panini because they had to, but they couldn't add mine in. We expect that over the next year or so that they're going to start grading our cards. And Beckett has always graded our cards, but the ones that most people send in are the hair cards.
Yeah.
Because they're the highest value. There are people that have gotten cards graded. Thomas Jefferson hair that was numbered to 3. Somebody got one graded, and I think it went for like $6,000.
Wow. And it was it a 10?
No, those are really hard to get to because the process to make that card, it cost me $24 a card to make. Because because
have
of the
it
amount of
perfectly
layers.
centered and everything else would be, yeah.
Well, I think the highest I've seen is a 9 so far. But again, you're talking a very because they're so thick, the cutting blades. There's a little chip. It's not going to be a 10.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Again, people that buy those, that want those, are buying it for the the fact that there's a piece of hair in there.
I want to, while you say that,
Reputation goes a long way.
I want to pop this picture up real quick, Kevin, because people will see it. But here's the Lincoln.
Oh, look, that's the Civil War Lincoln.
The Civil War historic DNA Lincoln hair, which you can see right there in the center. What a cool card. And how many of those did you make? Is
that one I think had 55.
Wow.
But it's funny because you showed that one. My favorite card from that is not the Lincoln, it's the Lincoln and Mary Surratt.
Oh,
Mary Surratt
wow.
being the woman that was hung because she owned the boarding house where the conspirators met.
And you had hair from Mary
her
Surratt?
hair at a heritage auction.
Oh.
We also did one with Lincoln, Jefferson Davis, Grant, and Lee. And at all four.
You mean all hair? Okay.
Yeah, all hair. All little.
You have John
hair.
Wilkes Booth hair.
No, I don't have that.
Oh wow.
Oh, but my guy that owns the Guinness World, he has it. He just wants a lot of money for it.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about one particular card in the 1945 set, I believe, that I saw in one of the unboxing videos. The card of the guy named Hitler. I cannot even imagine going into the service with a last name of Hitler. I mean, what do you know about that person? And what did he have?
Well, I'm mistaken. He was related to Adolf Hitler.
Oh, he was.
Yeah, I would have to go and look. I'm pretty sure he was a relative of Hitler that came here from Germany and joined our army.
Oh wow. Okay, in that case,
read the back of the card, David.
Huh? What'd you say? Sorry.
Wait, hold on.
He said, read the back of the card.
You didn't show me it. They didn't.
Do you remember I told you I had this book? He's in here. I'll read you the
there
book.
You go.
I want to know. Yeah.
Thank God for the book.
Yeah, it's always the book. I know kids nowadays don't know what books are. It's all the computer, but
no, they don't know what history is. That's the biggest problem.
And while Kevin's looking that up, I'm scrolling across the bottom. Yeah.
His name was William Patrick Hitler. He was the son of Hitler's half-brother, who was born to an Irish mother in England and was brought to the United States on a lecture tour by Randolph Hearst after
Wow.
I'm sorry, I can barely read this because I'm blind. He petitioned President Roosevelt to be allowed to stay and serve in the U.S. Navy, and eventually served as a pharmacist mate. But yes, he was related to Hitler.
Wow.
William
In
Patrick
some
Hitler.
ways, he was a hero then, the fact that he was fighting on our side. But wow, what a... I can't even... It was bad enough being brought up with the name Bash. I can't imagine going into the Army, U.S. Army with the name Hitler. Oh my!
Yeah, especially what they were going through at the time.
Yeah.
Well, our next product we're coming out with Flight in about a month. It's all about air travel and space travel. So we have, I told you the Hindenburg. I have stuff from Apollo 11. I got stuff. Nice. I have Neil Armstrong's flight suit. Pieces will be in the cards.
Holy cow! How'd you get that?
Well, it's not his space flight suit.
Ah.
That's I kept this out just to show you. He did a show in the 90s called First Flight. And he would fly these airplanes for the Air Force. And this was one of the flight suits that he wore during one of the episodes. It's I wouldn't tear something up that was in space like that.
Yeah.
But this is something that was, I don't say worthy of being cut, but I didn't feel like I was destroying history doing it. I do have something that was flown on an Apollo mission. This is chocolate pudding that was in space.
Oh my God.
And it was Rosa's on Apollo 14. He brought it back. He didn't like chocolate pudding. And it was in his daughter ended up auctioning it with Heritage. But I thought that was super cool. And we're going to
you have a little dab of pudding in any cards yet? Or is that happening?
No, that's going to be in Flight.
Oh, okay.
Along with the stuff like I don't know if you know much, but you know what Captain Foil is? That gold foil you see? That's what they cover the command modules with to help with the re-entry.
Oh, okay.
Well, that piece of gold, that gold Captain Foil, is off of Apollo 11.
My wife is going to love this. She's an aerospace engineer.
Oh, okay.
That's
So we have a 72 card set.
I'm going to have to buy
this. A lot of the women in there. A lot of women are in that set.
Oh, wow.
Because I think they've been underrepresented in the space and in the space industry. And, we have a lot of great relics for that one. But after flight, we're going to do 1918. We did 1945, end of the war. Now we're doing 1918, end of the Great War. So again, we have a lot of really cool stuff that's going to be in that.
Will there be a bunch of Spanish flu stuff? Again, dovetailing nicely with
absolutely.
COVID. There should be, yeah.
Well, there's two cards about the Spanish flu and just how deadly it was. One is the first known. In America, the first known case, which was in Kansas in March. And then another was like 6 months later showing just how bad the devastation was when that second wave came through. People that were, so worried about, now it was horrible. COVID was horrible, but people that were so worried about that should have went and read about the influenza epidemic because that was 10 times worse.
Of course.
And speaking of these
fascinating stuff, I mean,
these things you've got coming up, Kevin, looking at your website, the Historic Autographs, historicautograph.com, will all these things be available via your website, or do people need to go elsewhere to distributors, or like like the
originals sells out. I sell that out to distributors.
The original, the back and front original, that box
the back
that had
to back
the one
originals.
Card?
One card per box. That sold out. I could have sold more, but it's hard to get, securing all these things is what takes a lot of time.
Sure.
But when we make product, I make sure, usually I'll have, 10 to 12 cases left over that didn't sell out right away. And that's what we put on our website. We intend to do another 6 products this year.
Wow.
Most of them, like we're going to do a product for Halloween. Most people don't realize that's the second most celebrated holiday in America. People celebrate Halloween more than they celebrate Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving's a nice dinner. It's not a celebration. But Halloween, people celebrate and get crazy.
More than Easter.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Okay.
So you'll probably have something in there about Haddonfield, New Jersey, which is right next to me here. I lived in Haddonfield for a lot of years, and that's Halloween with the clock downtown. And
somebody's ringing my doorbell. Pardon
me. The writer of the movie, from Haddonfield.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Maybe we will do something.
Yeah,
How much is Kevin's autograph worth? You can have it for free. What's funny? I do have people. We have people come up at the National, and they come up to the National and they ask me to sign some of the cards. I've had people do that.
Yeah.
Well, because we do things like employee pick cards, like we did. Who's your favorite person in American history? And because I'm the owner, I got 2 choices. I chose Thomas Jefferson and Edgar Allan Poe. And those are my guys.
Wow. Yeah.
And so I've had people come up and have me sign those cards. I thought
that's cool. No, it's very cool. It's something that this is this is your Kevin Heffner, and having people sign your work and your passion. That's just really neat.
Kevin, I have to ask you: are you an Odd Couple fan?
I've seen all the episodes. I wouldn't put it on my top 10 list.
Obviously, then you're okay. Obviously, then you're.
I'm a big All in the Family fan. And did you see the chair from his thing is in Heritage's auction?
Yes, I saw that.
The first chair for the first 7 seasons that's at the Smithsonian. They had it remade for season 8, and then Archie's place, and that's up for auction.
Wow.
I think minimum bid's 100,000.
Yeah. Wow.
No, the reason I asked you about that is there's that episode where Felix gets angry at Oscar and he ends up going to live in Buffalo and joins his brother's Floyd's company. And one of the things his brother Floyd made and Oscar comes up to visit to try and talk him to coming back, and he goes to the office and he reads this. Traded a bubblegum. It's a bubblegum company. That's right. And one of the products is bubblegum cards for kids who don't like sports. I think there were some opera cards, which of course Felix had to have loved. I ask you this because what gave you the idea to to get into this in the first place?
Well, like I
Was it
said,
something like
early
that?
on, it was just me doing autographs. And it was almost entirely sports. We didn't do our first historically based or non-sport product until 2013. We did a product called Celebrity, and it was just celebrities, Hollywood. When I buy autographs and I start getting, I bid on all of them, and you do this long enough, you kind of know what they're all worth. And so once I got into that, I realized that the market I want was the historic market. I wanted, because it's in my name, for Christ's sake, and I wanted that market. And so we started in 2015 moving to doing cards. And in 2019, we changed the company name from just Historic Autographs to Historic Autograph and Card Company, because I am proud. I am very proud. And you can tell from talking to me, I love this stuff. I mean, this stuff is it really is a joy for me to, no matter how many times I get a Washington autograph, and we had 9 Washington autographs in the Washington Chronicles, but every time I get one, I just look at it and I'm in awe that I'm holding something that George Washington held.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah.
To me, I get that new feeling.
Yeah.
No matter how many times I hold a Babe Ruth autograph. And when I see this stuff, it's so cool to me. Yeah. And so I want to be able to share that and get that to come through. This is my business. This is my career, but it's not, you look at other companies and you can tell they are making cards to make money.
Right.
Sure.
I don't want it to have that feel. And, my margins are a lot less than what people may think they are, because printing costs have gone ridiculous.
I'm only laughing because I go through the exact same thing with my music festival. I'm doing this for the love of music. Right. I'm doing it I'm doing it in large part because the people that I work with, the artists, the bands, are really nice people. I too am not making a lot of money. A lot of people, just like they do with you, think that I'm getting very rich off of this. They don't know what my expenses are either. Again, people don't think these things through. They see what they believe to be on the surface, and they extrapolate everything from that.
Well, you don't compare me to a Topps or well, Topps just sold for 700 million. Yeah, well, I'm not Topps. I make 1/100th, 1/1000th of what they produce, and I have overhead. I have staff. I have people that I need to make sure that we continue to make money. And perfect example, for as beautiful as the Gilded Age was, we sold 28%. That's it of what I produced.
Wow.
So there's still 72% warehouse.
In my warehouse, yeah.
Wow.
But see, the one thing I do not do is I don't dump my product in the market.
And then
and just kill the product. I will hold that for years, and I'll sell boxes here, boxes there, because I believe in my product. I believe that what I'm giving has value. And I believe eventually, as with that 1945 box I showed you and my original POTUS box, the first product we did, when I put them out, they were factory cost about $70. Okay. About the same as Gilded Age. Now, if you go to look for a POTUS box, they're $150. If you go to look for a 1945 box, they're $110. And I made the same amount. Now, the topics are different. Most people, they love the POTUS. They love the World War II. I think eventually people will buy it. And I am not the kind of company, and my competitors are, and I'll be honest, they are. They pardon me for saying it, they're whores. Because I've seen product come out 20, 30 cases on eBay at auction a week after they release their product, selling for half of what the factory cost was.
Yeah.
I will not do that to my collectors, the people that believe in us. I would hold it. Now I'm holding 6 figures easy, a lot more than 6 figures, I'm probably $200,000 worth of product.
Wow.
And I could move that for, whatever, 40% to a wholesaler. Why do it? Because that means I'm showing no faith in what we do. And I'm telling the collectors out there, my product isn't worth it. I would rather.
Well, what you're telling him is don't buy it now. Wait till he dumps it.
Right.
And you don't want to do that. And I totally get that.
Well, there is value. And again, you don't want to flood a market. You really don't.
Yeah.
I had people tell me when I put out the hair product, it was a product just with hair cards called Prime. They said, you're flooding the market. You're going to kill the value. Well, I didn't. Because if you look at the values, there still are some cards that are only selling for $50, but most of them are $150 to $300, and boxes were $400. You got 3 cards in a box. So the value is still there. And we don't have that. I have a couple of boxes left. But the thing is, as more people begin to collect, what I was trying to do by putting out a set of just hair cards was get people to collect them. Say, I want to put together that set because every card had at least 10 versions, 10 available, making it something that if you really wanted to collect, you could.
Right. Yeah. Now the originals back to back, the one card in a box. I saw some couple box openings of that online. Fascinating. Absolutely.
Yeah, it just released today.
Really?
Yeah, it's released today.
Congrats.
We shipped it last week, but it releases today.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I maybe I saw somebody opening 2 boxes. Or was that a previous? Did you have a previous version of that?
Oh, we've had multiple originals. I've had originals 1909. I've had originals 1933 where we did the Goudies. I had originals 1934 where we did the Goudies. I had originals Diamond Star, originals Play Ball. Yeah, we do a lot of them.
So a box like that with one card, which absolutely gorgeous, great idea. What does a box like that cost to someone like us that says I want to find one of these? I got to give this a shot. Are they? I mean,
it's hard. Every product is different. Like those products, I see those online for about $100 now.
Okay.
I mean, that's why I did look today because it was release day. People are selling them for about $100.
Right. Okay.
I don't want to. I'm not going to talk about factory costs on that because it's just releasing today. And you'll see like the older boxes. Some of them, if you look for any of the older versions, like the 1933, there were 10 Babe Ruths in there.
Right. Now, do you know how many have been found? I mean,
I know at least 6 of them because I know a guy that put a set together and he had all 4 versions.
Wow.
But I haven't seen one sell for under $12,000 in years. Yeah. And so those boxes that originally, I think were $125, $130 a box. If you find them, they're $300 a box now.
Yeah,
because of the very few out there and people are still trying. The next one we're going to do is the 1939 Play Ball set.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Because everybody wants. Oh wait, hold on. What do I have in my drawer?
He's got so much cool stuff just right around him on the desk.
Honestly, what's funny is I was going to clean my desk. I said no, those are all Joe DiMaggio's.
Wow, what are they graded?
Anywhere between a 1 and a 4.
Nice. All right.
But I have 12 of those. No, 15 of those for the product.
All right, cool.
And then, Williams is more expensive. We're only going to have 5 of him in there. But, there's other really great cards in there. Willard Hershberger.
That's me. That's a distant relative. Only player in Major League history to have killed himself during the regular
season, right?
I got 4 of his autographs.
Well, good. I need a couple. I need 3 more.
I'll do it.
I have 2. I got to find 3 more because we're going to do at least 5 cards of everybody in the set. There is going to be one caveat with that set: a umpire card, umpire Dolly Stark. I cannot find his autograph. I've been looking for years. Oh, I've owned one in 20 years, and that one I sold for $1,000. This is before I was going to do the 39 set. He's the only autograph in the set I can't get. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to create a card with his card in it in case you want to complete the set, but no autograph. And in lieu of him, we're going to put 5 guys, all one-on-one cards that weren't in the set. Lou Gehrig is not in the set, and he should have been. Yeah. Jimmy Fox, Bob Feller, Johnny Mize, and Dizzy Dean.
All right, why were those? Well, Gehrig, we understand what happened, but why were those guys not in sets? They wouldn't sign.
Same reason it's been for years. They didn't pay them enough to be in the set. Every one of them signs contracts saying, yes, you can use my likeness. And if they didn't feel they were getting enough money, they would say no.
Amazing that Babe agreed to be in those Gowdy sets.
Yeah, Babe loved the money.
Yeah.
Babe was everywhere.
But there was no. By the way, you showed the Johnny Babbage card earlier.
Yeah, that was the one of the originals.
There's a really nice piece of trivia about him related to Joe DiMaggio.
Can't say I know it.
I'm trying to remember. Babbage detested Joe DiMaggio from something that happened back when they were both on the San Francisco Seals.
Oh, okay.
They were both They were both Northern California product. I don't remember what it was, but when DiMaggio was in the midst of his streak, Babbage was scheduled to pitch against him.
He did pitch against him.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
I know he did. Now, and he told the press that he was going to get him out the first time at bat, and then walk him the rest of the time if he had to.
Oh,
didn't work out. Didn't work out that way.
No, it did not.
First at bat, DiMaggio hit a line drive right back at Babbage, which almost took his head off. And DiMaggio was very, very proud of that. He told reporters he looked as white as a sheet. And so DiMaggio, he basically he said, "Oh yeah."
we did a cut card set called The Streak, where I had all the pitchers that had given up hits to DiMaggio, all of DiMaggio's teammates, anybody that played with him in a game during the streak, and then of course we had Keltner and Smith in there. What's
the guys who stopped it?
Yeah.
And so you had autographs of all those people?
Autographs of all of them, yeah. Now there's some tougher ones in there that were. I'm trying to remember some of the other tougher ones that were in there. Joe Kirkakis he's a tough autograph. He's in that because he's tough because he died in 1960. But not only did he give up the one of the hits in DiMaggio's streak, he gave up, I think it was Ted Williams, one of his 100th home runs, either 100, 200, 300, 400, something like that. It's probably, it's probably 100.
Probably 100. I can't imagine he was around for.
But I tell you, guys, I could talk all night, but my wife has been waiting on me for dinner for a half an hour.
Oh, my goodness gracious. This has been absolutely fantastic,
The last
Kevin.
thing I wanted to ask you, and I guess I could ask you this privately, but...
no, you can ask me.
No.
There's a Hershberger card.
Bill. Wow, a 7. That's
Bill Hershberger, 1940 play ball.
And
then, of course, all my pictures of him.
Did you ever have a complete set made of the Hassan triple folders? Because I want one.
No. Our triple folder product, we did a product called triple folders that we made. I had to put 2 autographs in the middle and 2, T cards on the outside. I couldn't make the card and be able to put a real triple folder in it, or I would have. The card would have been too big.
Yeah.
But those are incredibly beautiful cards.
But there's no complete sets. You have to buy boxes.
Oh, for ours, there's too many 101s. A lot of these autographs are so hard. And when I get the really rare ones, I like to put them in product because, the collectors out there, I probably owned more T206 autographs than anybody.
Wow.
And I don't mean to sound, cocky about that. I mean, I put out 4 different products that have had T206 autographs in. So, I mean, I probably put out 2,000 boxes. So you get an idea how many autographs I've had to have had. I will say this. I had a really good time talking. If you guys want to talk again about other products or just in general, I seem to really enjoy talking to both of you. Thank you very much.
We thank you so much.
I'll get your contact info because I want to ask you about purchasing certain things. So.
Please do, David.
Awesome. So,
and I was going to ask you if you were related, but it's because of the fact that he was the only player to commit suicide during the season. I didn't know how touchy of subject it was.
And there's actually been 2 Hershbergers play in the major. You got Mike Hershberger that played with Chicago for a lot of years, but what an interesting story. Willoughby, he saw his dad kill himself, or he found the body, and that really affected him.
Oh, I can understand that.
Yeah, so that's kind of the road he led to. But real quick before you run, how about a Titanic set? Cool.
I've looked into Titanic relics and stuff from the Titanic, even the autographs of what's her name, Mavila Dean, last survivor. Even her autographs have gone up a lot lately. And the other thing is, like the images of the Titanic, a lot of them are copyrighted.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, we've included the Titanic in multiple sets, including I think the Gilded Age because we went to 1912. But doing something that just we did have a shipwreck relic in the Gilded Age.
I see that in the Gilded Age.
That was the SS Atlantic. And a lot of people, if you don't know, there is a great video on YouTube by YouTube content what are they called? Content suppliers, whatever. His name's Part-Time Explorer. He does an incredible job. That's who I got the relics from, because he was there and was able to get them, because it sank 200 yards offshore. Like it wasn't up. And they wash up. But I think I'm leaning towards maybe doing like another chaos set and include these tragic shipwrecks, things like the Edmund Fitzgerald, the Carl D. Bradley, the Great Lakes problem, the tragic crashes. There's just a lot of them, and I think people love that. So I think that we're going to include stuff like that in the next chaos set. Absolutely
fascinating talking with you, Kevin. Really appreciate your time.
I do hope you both reach out. Just I info@historicautograph.com. Awesome. Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful evening. Stay happy, healthy, grateful. Maybe we'll have a part 2 6 months from now, and we'll talk about
me know, and
all the releases. There. Awesome.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a great night, Kevin. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. That was fun. And
well, there you go, David. Episode number 101 on our march towards 200. Kevin Heffner of the Historic Autograph Company.
I'm hoping that the people who are watching who are not into sports understand that cards don't have to be about sports. They can be about anything. It's all history on one level or another. And what Kevin's done, I think, is remarkable. And
he was just such a fascinating guest, because you could tell he has a passion for it.
That's always important.
Very knowledgeable.
We're going to always appreciate passionate people. And
we showed, I popped this up about the Lincoln hair card, which is very cool. But the other card I didn't get a chance to show. That's a piece of a rose petal that was from his that was laying over his casket on the procession.
Wow.
Which is part of their Civil War Platinum Club collection. So
what's written up there? Do you know?
That is, I don't know what is that? That's is that a piece of a letter of provenance from it? I believe from Lincoln's son. I believe. I don't know if I can.
Not John Wilkes Booth writing, "I'm sorry, Abe."
Yeah. I swear it wasn't me. Yeah, but absolutely fascinating. I do have a box of the Gilded Age en route. I saw that online, and as he said, it was around $80. And one thing I wanted to talk to you about. We'll talk about this, after the show. But some ideas for doing some extra things for material issues, like maybe opening a box like that and looking at the cards and saying how cool are these things. So, but really, just fascinating guy. Great company. It's not too far from here. It's right next to where I grew up in Kutztown, PA, in Pottsville, Pennsylvania. And no wonder he's a Philly fan. Jimmy Fox and Richie Ashburn makes a lot of sense. But you and I, knowing our love for collecting and for, baseball cards and the history and whatnot, I just thought he'd be a very great guest. And man, he was. It was just awesome. Yeah.
He was indeed a great guest. And we have another great guest coming up in a couple of weeks. Right now, we don't have any guests scheduled for next week. We don't have one scheduled for the 24th. I know on the 31st, we will be live from the cavern, as we did last year. It'll be Wednesday at 11 o'clock. Maybe we should do it a little bit earlier so we can get a few more artists on and maybe see a few more things. But we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
But on the 17th. We're back to having a musician, and those of you, especially from the East Coast, because this was a bit of a bigger hit around the New York area than it was on the West. But I've spoken with John Borak, and he knew the song as well. Back in 1977, there was a song on the charts called Ariel, which was very, very topical. It was kind of a story song about a budding relationship between two people living in New York and New Jersey. She was way on the other side of the Hudson, as he said. So this song did make it to top 30 on Billboard nationally, but I'm sure on the East Coast it was top 10 on a lot of stations. The artist of Ariel was a gentleman named Dean Friedman. And he had a couple of albums on Life Song Records, which was a division of Columbia. The second album, Well Said the Rocking Chair, is definitely my favorite of the two. It has a song on it called Lydia, which is in my top 100 songs of all time, actually.
Wow.
Still is. So we're going to have Mr. Dean Friedman on. And the cool thing is he's still doing it. He's still going out there playing. In fact,
That's
I
awesome.
believe he's in the UK as we speak right now, doing shows there.
Wow.
I think he still lives in the New York area. I think he lives in a suburb now. But yeah, his stuff is very New York oriented. And so, which is why maybe it didn't do as well outside of the Eastern area, but some really great songs. Like I said, he's an excellent storyteller. He's an excellent image maker in a lot of his songs. And, he's got a very pretty voice, great melodies. Lydia is just a stunning ballad, in my opinion. I've kind of wanted to have this guy on for a while. I never really got around to asking him, but finally I did, and he was up for it. So on May 17th, we will have Dean Friedman on Material Issues. I suggest, at least those of you who are listening, if you don't know the song, go on YouTube and check out Ariel.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's an actual video that was made at the time, but it's a very, very cool song, as are many songs by him. I like the one, where he's in a deli ordering corned beef on rye. That's just one of the scenarios. Again, his songs are very New York scenario based.
Yeah.
But he's released other things since then. I don't have them. I probably need to delve into a little bit of it, but he'll be a great guest. Beyond that, as I said, right now on the 10th and 24th, we don't have anyone, but probably by next week, if we don't have someone by the 10th, we will have someone for the 24th.
Yeah.
Either way is fine with us.
Yeah, we always got things in the fire. We always got things in the work. You never know. That's why you got to subscribe here or join the group here at Facebook, or subscribe over on YouTube, because we send out an email early in the week saying who's coming up in a couple of days, and we always talk about it. So so stay tuned. We're glad everybody sticks around and still joins us here on episode number 101.
Absolutely, we really do appreciate everybody being here, especially those of you in the UK who have to be up late to check us out. But Kevin was a great guest. Thank you for bringing him on.
Yeah.
I will be purchasing stuff, no doubt about it. Anyway, all right. Well, very cool. Everyone have a great rest of your day or night, and rest of the week. And we will hopefully see you again on Wednesday, May 10th.
All right. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks, David. Always great hanging out with you.
Likewise, Mark.